So you want to learn how to edit photos in Lightroom? Well, it just so happens that that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. Hello, my name is Tyler Galbraith and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing the Basics tab in Lightroom and how to use it. So let's jump into the computer. Here we have all of our editing tabs on the right. We're in the develop section up top and we're going to just go into the basics section today. Now we have this photo that I took of my brother in Oregon during a surf and photography trip. I'm sure that he'll be pretty happy that his face is being shown around. First, we'll go right to the top. You've got your black and white and you've got your color. Easy enough. Now Lightroom actually has this pretty cool button over here. It's an auto edit. And what this does is it automatically edits your photo to what Lightroom thinks is the best version of it. Now, this isn't going to be exactly what you want, but it's a pretty cool starter if you're just starting out with Lightroom. It can give you a good idea of where you're going to want to go with the photo, or you can use it and then just make some small adjustments from there. We're going to start from scratch. I'm going to hit Command Z, bring us back to there, and then we're going to start up here with the temperature. Now the temperature, if you bring it to the left, it makes the photo a little bit more blue. Now this also gives it a cooler look, so it can give off the impression that you're in a colder space. If we bring it to the right, it really warms up the photo. It adds like a yellowish orange tinge to it, kind of gives the idea that you're in sunset, somewhere nice. So because we shot this pretty much midday, I'm going to warm it up a little bit, give it a nicer feel. The tint, you go to the left, makes it green, go to the right, makes it red. I don't use this a whole lot because I don't really like green in my photos, and if you go too far on the red, it really messes with skin tones. I don't really like it. It is pretty fun to use with skies though, give you that red sky feel. Next we have exposure. This is just how bright your photo is. Whole photo brighter, whole photo darker. Pretty easy. Contrast will do two things. It will, if you see here, it will brighten up the light areas and it will darken the dark areas or the highlights and the shadows. What it will also do is it will bring out saturation in the colors. So as you can see, if we bring this down, the blue and the red get a little less saturated and the difference between the shadows and the highlights is less. So for this, we're going to bring that up just a little bit, not too much. Like I said before, the highlights is where the light is hitting and the shadows are basically where it is not. So we have our highlight slider. If you see, when we bring it up, we really blow out the waves in the face here. A good way of making sure you're not blowing anything out on your photo is if you hit Option or Alt and then grab the slider. You'll get this black screen, but as you see the light creep in, those are areas that are now blown out. So you've lost all information there. So you never want to go above that. But for this one, we're going to bring it down. Another cool tip here is if you want to bring any of these sliders back to zero, back to where it started, you double click on it and back it goes. So your shadows here, we're going to bring them down. We're going to add a little bit more contrast to this photo, a little bit more mood, if you will. The whites are basically how white your white parts are. So with this, because we do have it slightly overexposed here on the waves, we're not going to touch the whites a whole lot, but if we did, you'd see that it brightens up those white areas or darkens them. So we'll bring that down just a little bit to add some more texture to those waves. And then lastly, the blacks, opposite of the whites, they just make black areas more black or less black. So for this, we're going to bring it down a bit. This really adds some punch to your photos, so it's really good to add in, especially for Instagram. And then lastly, we have the last section, which is clarity, dehaze, vibrance, and saturation. Clarity just makes your photo a little bit sharper. If you bring it too high up, it makes it really unrealistic, and you don't want to do that, guys. And if you bring it all the way to the left, it kind of looks like it's painted with watercolors. It's kind of weird. So we're going to just bring the clarity up just a little bit there. And then the dehaze, you know, I don't know why you would ever do that. But if you bring it to the right, it can help The dehaze really works well if you took a picture and it was hazy. Maybe there was fog, maybe the picture's not so clear. If you bring that dehaze button up a bit, it'll help sharpen up the photo, but if you bring it too much, it'll just add too much noise in, so you need to be very careful with this. As with all the sliders, you know, a little bit goes a long way. You don't want to overdo things, it's going to look pretty bad. And then lastly, we have the vibrance and the saturation. Now I'm not going to lie, for the first little bit of me using this program, I thought they did the exact same thing. I think a lot of people do, but there is a slight difference. The saturation will bring out the intensity of the colors. So if you see when we bring this up, the red gets really intense, the blue gets really intense, the face turns orange, he looks like an Oompa Loompa there. You really need to be careful with that. If you bring it down, you basically make it a black and white photo. So the saturation will leave right there. Vibrance will bring saturation to areas of the photo that aren't already oversaturated. So if you see here, when we use the vibrance, it doesn't bring out a lot of the red in the surfboard, but it does bring out the blue here. The other thing you'll notice is that it doesn't affect the skin tone as much as the saturation did. So where he looks really weird, like he has a fake tan here, when we bring up the vibrance, it doesn't have the same effect. So the tool is a lot smarter than the saturation tab, but they're both useful. So we'll bring the vibrance up a bit and we'll bring the saturation down a bit, and there we go. That's a photo edited just using the basics tab. So that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you all learned something. If you liked the video, please hit the like button below. Hit subscribe if you want to see more tutorials like this. I'm going to do more Lightroom, Photoshop, maybe even Premiere tutorials. So let me know what you want to learn and maybe I can teach you. Until next time, everybody. Get out there, take pictures, have fun. See you later. Peace.